Testing 1, 2, 3. Ah, that was a little scary. Couldn't get the sound to go. Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Who we got in the chat here? Annie, how you doing? It's the beautiful Miss Caitlin Scott. Sitting right over there. Tonight, off camera. Joseph's here. No one else yet. That's cool. Well, what's the purpose of tonight's stream? I don't know. It was panic mode earlier today because the Trump tariffs were set to go into effect at midnight tonight. But after a day full of negotiations with the President of Mexico and Mr. Trudeau of Canada, Trump has agreed to postpone the tariffs for a month. Why are we talking about this? Well, there's multiple reasons. There's a lot of things going on in the government right now that are going to affect everyone in the country going forward. So I'm going to be dropping some truth bombs tonight. So don't get mad. Don't get upset. Try not to tie your political identity to your person. Because I'm sure there's going to be things I'm going to say tonight that some people aren't going to like, but some stuff needs to be said. And it's a dire warning of things that could be coming down the pipeline. And one of those things could affect tax refunds. I mean, just it's some serious stuff went down today. And pretty I'm a little concerned about what this means for like the Treasury Department, who manages the IRS and hence our tax refunds going forward. So there's a lot of stuff in the news that's getting me concerned that I'm keeping my antenna up on. And then crazy stuff, there's just the state of our society right now has got me a little worried, and I figured I would take a night to kind of just talk to everyone and be real, because I see some problems going on right now, and I don't think it's too late to change it. I mean, we can always change as individuals, and then as individuals help other people. But I made a post last week. I was talking to Caitlin about some things I was noticing societally about just in general what we've become and the direction I was seeing things going. And I was getting really concerned about skilled positions kind of going by the wayside. Everyone talks about like AI taking over and, what that means for our future. But really what I've been noticing is people haven't been able to afford college and going for higher education. So less and less people are going for those highly skilled jobs like doctors and engineers, things that would be required to have a safe, operable society. And more and more I've been getting concerned about it because those job numbers have been going down, and not because they're not available, because people haven't been taking them. And I made a post on social media. I'm going to share it here last week. And this is going to lead into a bunch of things, because I consider myself a very deductive and reasonable, logical person. I went to school for journalism. It's what my background was educational wise. So learned a lot about building sources. It's how I got so much of my information from the IRS and learned so much to make these videos to inform everyone. And a big part of that, a lot of times I'll say things and people think, oh, you're predicting the future. You predicted it just right. And it's like, no, it's just a combination of like my experience of working with them, building sources, also my deductive reasoning. I'm like the Sherlock Holmes of YouTube, you might say. So I'm going to be saying some things tonight that some things are facts, some things are like my projections and my concerns about things going forward, and some things are predictions. And like I said, I have a pretty, what do you think, Caitlin? A pretty good high quality power of deduction, right? And intuition. And I have a pretty high accuracy rate on some of these predictions. Case in point, last week after a conversation I had with Caitlin, we had I should pull up an article about this too. In our city, we had a house collapse. It was a building that was under construction. So what's going on in our town, our city around here, is there's a lot of construction going on. And so our mayor has been, I've mentioned this before. I work in our local government now, but our mayor has been investing a lot in building, housing, and in a neighborhood not too far from us, there was a house that was being built and it collapsed. And just looking for the article here. And this got me kind of thinking about the things I've seen here. Let me share this page here. Let's see. Share. Present. Share screen. Share this. So this happened last week. This was a building collapse we had in our town. There were five workers in it. 5, yeah. So 4 got injured pretty badly, and then 1 sadly passed away. He was a father. It's really sad. Anyways, this got me thinking about, obviously people around town were asking, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And it kind of ties in a lot of that safety stuff and the society stuff I've been seeing go on. And that's because I think there's probably the reason like something like this would happen is a combination of poorly trained workers, poor building products used to save money and cut costs, not following the building codes, rushing through things to save money as well. I bet you it's a combination of things. They're still investigating. Which led me to make a post. So I'm going to read this post because I think it is important. And I think, you may agree with some of this. You may agree with none of it. You may agree with all of it. It may upset you, but a lot of it's true. A lot of it's a concern I have. And a lot of it ties into what I predict is going to be happening in the future, specifically in our country, as we vie for competition with other countries and being top tier in the labor force. So we're going to stop that screen and we're going to present a new screen. So I made this last week. It was a dire warning, a dire prediction, and then sadly a lot of this came true within a day of me posting it. Literally the day I posted this, I said there is a massive problem facing us right now that no one is talking about. America is quickly headed for an extremely dark period of exponentially more and more preventable human error disasters. There's plenty of blame to go around in every facet of society. From building collapses to airline collisions to medical procedures gone wrong, we've decided as a society to place a higher value on culture wars, corporate profits, and self-indulgence over the safety of our population. On the academic side, universities as a whole have placed more and more value on education of race relations, trans issues, and other cultural topics. While those topics are very important to many and are certainly needed in our schools, I should have added that, they get prioritized over medical, law, technology, and other skilled areas that are actually required to maintain a safe society for all. As an economy, we've decided paying thousands of dollars to enrich the pockets of NFL owners even further while attending a football game is worth more than the living wage of the Uber driver that got us there. All the while, that driver literally has our life in his hands. We've decided to deregulate aviation safety committees in the name of trimming the fat and avoiding big government, all the while refusing to hold airlines or our leaders accountable when those cuts inevitably lead to disaster. We've decided we just don't want to work anymore, leading to major skilled labor shortages in building, transportation, medical fields, which in turn leads to hiring of poorly trained people working in unsafe conditions. When our students hit a wall and reach the limit of their academic capabilities, we move the goalposts closer, reduce requirements, and make it easier for them to graduate, but leave them completely unprepared to enter the real world. We've allowed for the price of higher ed to balloon so high that many prospective students that would otherwise make great architects, engineers, doctors, lawyers are instead opting to skip college altogether and enter the workforce in low-skill, low-wage jobs so they don't have to spend their lives in debt. We cheer on corporations for their brilliance while working the system, cutting corners and using lower quality products while they pay their workers laughably low wages and rake in higher profits. All that said, what perhaps is ultimately going to lead to the complete collapse of America is our general lack of empathy for our fellow man. Rather than seeing and relating to each other as people and fellow Americans, we resort to othering those that we disagree with, pointing fingers, laughing at and celebrating the misfortune of others, and demonizing opposing viewpoints rather than objectively analyzing our own. Until we realize that we all breathe the same air and share the common goal of not just survival but growth and prosperity. It won't change. Until we teach our children the value of work ethic, they will underachieve and not understand the importance of aiming high and putting in the effort to get there. We will continue to hate. If you don't value the life and the work of those providing vital services, it's impossible for you to grasp paying them a fair wage for their skills and giving them the appropriate benefits to justify them staying in their position. The fields that we all rely on but take for granted, for example, medical, building, transportation, will have more and more of the skilled workforce leaving as the incentives to stay decrease. Human error disasters will continue to increase at an alarming rate, and the blame will continue to get misplaced, and this house of cards will collapse. So that was what I posted. And wouldn't you know, that very day, what happened? The DC plane crash happened. And then what happened a couple days later? The Philly plane crash happened. So you might say it's like, you know, sometimes Caitlin and I talk about this, like Dana's psychic ability. I don't have psychic ability. It's deduction. It's observation. It's seeing things that are going on, and with pretty decent accuracy, being able to predict what it could lead to. So there's some issues that are facing us right now that we're headed down a very scary road if we don't find a way to correct things. So what's the answer? I mean, the first thing you have to do is consider your own personal safety and the safety of your own personal family, but you also have to start thinking about your fellow man. Which leads me to the next thing that's got me a little spooked, and that is the takeover that's been, well, first the tariffs. I was a little worried about the tariffs, I'll be honest with you, a little concerned about what that would mean for the prices of us in the U.S., the economy. Over the weekend, the stock markets were already predicting to hit some pretty big lows, but they recovered as the day went on and Trump was negotiating with the leaders. So fortunately, we've staved off disaster, because those prices of the goods that we send to Canada and Mexico, which are our biggest trade partners, if they were to counteract that with putting tariffs on our products, it would be a nightmare. I mean, we do get a lot of our fruits and vegetables from Mexico. You can see those prices at the grocery store going up. Lumber, auto parts, all come, like, not all come, but a very large portion of our stockpile comes from Canada. You can see those prices going up. So a lot of the things that Trump was thinking may happen with the tariffs would likely backfire. So it's a good thing that they've pushed it back and he's willing to negotiate, and hopefully, you know, we find a new trade agreement. Canada's government's in the midst of a huge change right now, because Trudeau's retiring and resigning, and their government's in a transition period right now. So it's better for him to negotiate with the new government anyway, especially because him and Trudeau don't particularly get along very well. So hopefully there's something that's going to work out that's going to be a win-win for all with the tariffs. So I'm not as concerned about those right now, although I'll keep my eye on those. What I am concerned about is something that happened this weekend, and that is a billionaire. In fact, the richest person in the world now has access to the Treasury payment system. That's right. And President Trump has to be careful because Elon Musk is operating at a different level right now. And you know, if you're a Trump supporter, you should be concerned because he's doing a lot of things behind Trump's back, and I don't know if Trump realizes it. Why is this a big deal? The Treasury controls pretty much all of the federal funding for Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, our debts. But a big reason that people watch these videos, they control our tax refunds as well. So what does this mean for us? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the Elon Musk end game is here. I don't know why. I mean, on the surface, he's saying, oh, we're going to analyze everything that they're doing with this money and see where it's going. But why does the world's richest man, why does he get to have control of our nation's purse, essentially? Anyway, I try to look at it, it's not good. I can't see anything good coming out of this. In fact, I could see him saying, we're going to stop. Well, he's already said he's pausing all payments. So what does that mean for refunds? Well, right now they're operating as normal, but I mean, who knows? I mean, we could see in a few weeks him saying, we're just going to stop refunds for now until we see and make sure that everyone that we're paying out is supposed to be getting paid out. I mean, you could be looking at, worst case scenario, we could be looking at some refund delays. That would be pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know. It's this one's been really freaking me out today. I don't know why we're giving the richest man in the world so much control over our country. Epic. Hello. Hey. Joseph's here. Caitlin's here. Annie's here. Yeah, so going back to the tariffs, I was pretty concerned about the tariffs too, because not just because the costs, you know, it raising the costs on everything. Another reason I was concerned about it is it could cost us our credibility, because if we're willing to do that, yeah, if we're willing to do it with our closest allies and trade partners, literally our closest, like, you know, not just metaphorically, but literally right next to us, but they're our closest allies, they're our biggest trade partners. If we're willing to screw around with them like that, the rest of the world is watching and saying, well, like, what are they going to do to us? So we become like a not unfair trade partner, untrustworthy trade partner. Trump has already said he's going to be targeting Europe. And I saw an article today where Putin was just, you know, wiggling his fingers in the corner, basically all excited over it. Hey, Steve, what's going on? Everyone, Rideshare Rodeo. That's my friend Steve. He hosts the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. If you are a gig worker and have an interest in the ongoing news of the gig economy, His podcast is literally the best podcast for the gig work in the world. So what did... I know that they said that Marco Rubio, who is now our Secretary of State, is going to be negotiating with Mexico in the coming months over the tariffs. But for now, the Mexican president agreed to send 10,000 Mexican soldiers. I'm tired. Sorry, everybody. Soldiers to the border to prevent trafficking fentanyl and other drugs. Trump said in a tweet, too, that she agreed to try to stop some of the illegal migration coming, too. And Trudeau basically agreed to similar things as far as watching drugs coming over the Canadian border. I'm going to pull up some... Oh, and those Chinese tariffs are still going through. So that was 10%. That's going to start at midnight. So if you've been shopping on Shein or Caitlin's got tears streaming down her eyes right now. No, not Shein. Or Temu. Let's see. 10% tariffs on Chinese imports, which is also kind of odd if you think about we're gonna put 25% tariffs on our biggest allies and only 10% on our biggest adversary. I'll be honest, the first 3 years of Trump's first presidency was very fruitful for us personally. And then COVID happened and basically everything came crashing down, and we were certainly victims of that as well, and still haven't fully recovered from what happened there. But I personally never blamed Donald Trump for that. I think that it didn't matter who was president when COVID hit and the shutdowns occurred, that economic disaster was going to happen. In fact, I would argue that some of the actions that Trump said, and I'm not a Trump supporter by any means, but I would argue that economically a lot of the things that he tried to get done prevented some even more serious damage. I mean, he was advocating for more stimulus payments towards the end too, and the rest of the government was like trying to shut him down. So there was definitely things that were handled really badly, and there were some things that were handled well, but I can tell you I had high hopes going into this presidency, this term, that maybe we'd have a return to the economic fruitfulness of his first 3 years, minus the COVID year. But so far this week has been like watching an arsonist set fires all over the place. It's the best metaphor I can come up with. Well, not really any tax talk today. Just some, like I said, I'm going to be keeping my eye on what's going on with the Treasury Department because I am concerned over what's going on with the payment system there and what's going to happen with those payments. Because eventually, in the immediacy right now, I think everything seems to be operating as it normally would, but time will tell. I don't know exactly what Elon Musk has planned for the payment system. I suppose we could hope that Congress could step in and slow that down, but I don't think anyone has the backbone to do it right now. I'll be honest, everyone. I thought I was going to be live streaming for like 12 hours tonight. I'm not even exaggerating. I was going to have like a big countdown. The tariffs were going to hit. We're going to watch in awe as the nation falls apart. And then Trump announced that he wasn't going to do the tariffs on Canada and Mexico tonight. I'm like, all right, well, that kind of, crisis averted, I guess. That's not to say that we don't have any crisis facing us, as I pointed out at the beginning of the stream, but that was the most pressing thing because I could easily see the prices of products in the country going way sky high. And we've already been battling like inflation. It hasn't slowed down at the rate that we had hoped it would. But what do I know? I'm only the Sherlock Holmes of YouTube. All right, I'm exhausted. I have a slate full of meetings this week, so I am going to call it a night, everyone. And I'll be keeping my eye on this stuff because, as I said, there are going to be some tax implications, and when that news does pop, you'll be sure we'll be making the videos on that content right here on DSEN. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to be made aware when we do have some new videos coming up. Hope everyone has a good night.